Business credit cards are an absolutely great tool to benefit from. They can earn you thousands of dollars on a personal level to use for travel, or even from a business operations standpoint. They can save you 2 to 5% on every single transaction, which if you run a business, you know that can significantly add up. And in case you don't want to check out this whole entire video, that's okay, because I'm going to start with some of the best tips right away, which is that you need to just be patient when it comes to business credit cards. And even if you think it's not necessarily for you, the reality is it's a lot more accessible than you may think. A lot of people think that only big corporations can qualify for business credit cards, but the reality is even if you just resell clothing or do small little type gig projects like cutting the yard for somebody, that can be considered a sole proprietorship, so that's a legitimate business and you could qualify for a business credit card. The reality is that there's plenty of people that end up applying for a business credit card that run business type operations that aren't necessarily real business operations, but they still get approved. So if there's any takeaway from this video, the one thing I want people to take away from this is that if you feel like business credit cards aren't for you, it is more accessible than you may think, and that way you're accessing thousands of dollars worth of rewards or even just cash back. And I do want to provide just a short list of some great resources to start off with. I'll provide some more towards the end of this video, but the first is a subreddit called Churning, which is Reddit, if you don't know, is just an online forum, and churning is just the process of opening up credit cards, hitting the sign up bonuses. There's a little bit more to it, but the main piece of information that I want people to take away from this is there's a flowchart that I'll link down below, and it can seem pretty daunting, but at the end of the day, what this really helps with is making sure you sign up for certain credit cards first and get the most value. The second is a flowchart as to what to do when you apply for a Chase credit card, any Chase credit card really, and when to call for reconsideration, when you're likely to get denied, or when you just need to be more patient and then get approved later on. And just to give a quick introduction, my name is Larry at The Financial Life, where I make videos regarding personal finance, real estate, as well as videos to help small businesses. I've worked as a financial analyst for many years, as well as in the accounting field, working as an auditor, as well as a typical accountant. And I would consider myself a little bit of a credit card enthusiast, which is why I want to make this video regarding how to open up a business credit card, what are things you can do to increase your odds for the approval, as well as what's the overall application process like, and some of the drawbacks that some people may not necessarily know about in terms of opening up a business credit card. And plus, if you have any other future videos that you're interested in regarding small businesses, if you want topics revolving around that, feel free to comment down below and I'd be more than happy to make a future video. So without wasting any more time, what are the actual benefits to opening up a business credit card? Why would someone want to open up a business credit card versus just having a personal credit card? So I'll just start with probably the biggest reason or argument for opening up a business credit card, which is access to those huge sign-up bonuses, which I'm sure at one point or another you've either gotten an email or a letter in the mail kind of giving this promotion for 100,000 points if you sign up for this credit card, and you get very excited, you open it up and you realize it's for a business credit card, not necessarily a personal credit card. So then you just end up shredding it or getting rid of it altogether. But don't do that. Now you know better that you actually do have a good chance of getting approved for that. Just look at the Platinum American Express personal card that offers 75,000 reward points versus the business Platinum credit card with a bonus of 85,000 points. That 10,000 point difference at a minimum is $100 of extra dollars in your pocket. Now the big catch to all of this though is that typically a lot of business credit cards have way higher spending requirements to hit that sign-up bonus. And in the example I'm giving right now, we're talking about $5,000 to hit that 75,000 reward points versus $15,000 of spending to hit that 85,000 reward bonus. Now this is kind of a trade-off scenario here. On the one hand, you're spending 3 times as much for basically only 10,000 more points. So you could have signed up for probably a couple more personal credit cards and hit that sign-up bonus, but on the other hand, one of the things you need to consider is that you're only having to worry about one card versus having to apply for multiple personal cards. Now, another major perk to business credit cards that will affect you either on a personal level or even from a business operations standpoint is that they offer you perks and benefits, and that they're more tailored towards a business, and you won't necessarily have access to those same perks and benefits on a personal credit card. For example, the American Express Gold Card offers $150 for shipping credit, or it can also be used for marketing media materials as well as advertising type materials. So this is a great benefit that obviously impacts your bottom line from a business operations standpoint, even if that just means you're able to use this perk to kind of tip your toes in something that you're not familiar with. Maybe you're interested in looking at some type of social media type marketing and paying for that, and you're not necessarily wanting to affect your bottom line. So this $150 is a huge benefit. Even if you're thinking to yourself, Larry, okay, I'm using these business credit cards for a business, it's not necessarily legit operation. I just want to benefit from it on a personal level. Well, the reality is with personal credit cards, you end up duplicating some of the same perks. For example, the American Express Gold Card offers a Grubhub dining credit that's, really beneficial to a lot of people, but it also offers a Uber Eats dining credit. And then if you end up having another separate credit card that has similar type dining credits, you're not necessarily having a variety of different perks. Versus if you open up the Chase Inc. Preferred Card, also referred to as CIP sometimes, this credit card has a built-in insurance for your cell phone, so you can end up getting paid out $600 per claim and 3 claims per year. So this is a great benefit to even use on a personal level. Now you have a credit card that ends up benefiting you from your cell phone's perspective, as well as a credit card. You can still have that personal credit card giving you those dining credits. So you're really expanding and getting a variety of perks, and that's the best use of credit cards right there, especially with business credit cards. And even in terms of spending categories, with the business credit card, you end up having more options. And what I mean here is that with a personal credit card, usually you have ×2 or ×3 the rewards point when it comes to certain spending categories. So usually those spending categories are things like dining or groceries or sometimes gas, but the reality is people spend a lot more money on a variety of different categories. So having a business credit card, for example, the American Express Gold Card on a business credit card, ends up allowing you to have ×4 the spending on computer hardware or cloud storage. So if you're paying for things on a personal level for things like cloud storage for photos, that's something you can have ×4 the points that you wouldn't necessarily be able to benefit from on a personal credit card. Now, the next major benefit to a business credit card is usually you have higher credit limits. And this can actually end up being a good thing or a bad thing depending on your spending habits. But let's say, for example, I applied for a personal Hilton credit card and I got extended $10,000 for my line of credit. The reality is if I applied for that same Hilton credit card, but the business version of it, I would either get approved for $10,000 credit line of credit, or in a lot of cases, a lot more than that, sometimes $30,000 or even $50,000 for your line of credit. And this actually has a huge impact. On a personal level, that means you can put purchases on this business credit card that typically you wouldn't be able to. So let's say I was buying an extravagant purse or taking an extravagant vacation or buying expensive jewelry or whatever it ends up being. If your typical line of credit on a personal credit card, you wouldn't be able to put that full purchase on that credit card. That's points that you're losing out on. So even on a $10,000 purchase, at 1% rewards points, that's $100 that isn't necessarily going into your pocket. Now, from a business operation standpoint, the same thing applies, right? Typically with the business, you have thousands of dollars being spent at a time every single month. And if you have a personal credit card and that's the only thing you're using for your line of credit, that may mean that you're losing out on thousands of dollars of expenses that aren't being rewarded for those reward points. Now, the last major perk I wanted to mention with business credit cards that applies more towards just businesses, but for the sake of being complete, I wanted to include it in this video, which is that you have a lot of account management tools. It's very easy to see who's spending on different cards, at the same time still have one consolidated bill that you can also quickly export to QuickBooks or Excel or whatever account management tool you end up using. So it can be a huge benefit and that can save time, which in the end saves your business money. Now, what kind of credit score do you need to get approved for a business credit card, and how does a business credit card impact your own personal report? Well, there are some misconceptions when it comes to this. For example, that a business credit card doesn't impact you at all. And the reason this happens is because there's a little bit of truth that gets skewed a little bit. The reality is a business credit card does impact your own personal report, but the reason that some people think it doesn't is because there's this common rule that's based from Chase known as a 524 rule, which basically means that you can't have had more than 5 credit cards open in a 24-month period. Otherwise, it's pretty much a guarantee that you're going to get denied when you go to apply for that 6th credit card when you apply against Chase. Now, the thing about business credit cards is it basically kind of circumvents that rule. You could have open 5 business credit cards in a 24-month period and still apply for another personal credit card from Chase, actually a few personal credit cards from Chase, and still get approved. So that's kind of the reason why people believe that a business credit card doesn't impact your own personal report. Now, the reality is business credit cards do impact you on a personal level. And a couple of examples of this would be, for example, if you have a line of credit extended to you from a business credit card and it's It's a significant amount. Let's say that's $50,000 worth of credit to you, and you go to apply for a personal credit card and you really actually don't make that much. They just happen to extend you a huge line of credit on that business credit card. Then when you apply for that personal credit card, there's a chance that they may actually deny you, especially if both credit cards are under the same provider. For example, if they're both under Chase, then they're going to look at that and basically know that perhaps we extended too much credit to this particular person. But one of the things you can do is just call up Chase and ask them to lower that credit limit on that business credit card, and that will basically improve your odds that you're going to get approved on a personal credit card. Now, another example of a business credit card impacting your personal credit report is in the form of hard inquiries. So when you go to apply for any business credit card, they basically will report that to different credit bureaus. Some business credit cards will send it to all 3 credit bureaus. Some credit card companies only send it to one. Some, in some cases, don't even report it at all. So it doesn't even show up as a hard inquiry on any of your credit reports. And this is an important thing to know, especially if you're going to apply for a mortgage or something like that, and you were thinking that a business credit card isn't going to impact your credit score at all, but you applied for 5-6 different business credit cards, and then you go to apply for a mortgage, and then the mortgage officer that's reviewing your documents says, why are you applying for 5-6 different credit cards? You can try to explain that away, but it may make the mortgage officer a little hesitant. So it's definitely one of the things I can't stress enough that a business credit card will, in a lot of cases, show up as a hard inquiry. Depends on the credit bureau and depends on the credit card company, but it's definitely something you want to research. Now, one thing to keep in mind is that with a personal credit card, typically if you have a balance on that debt and as well as your line of credit, those things are used for your utilization rate, and that's usually calculated into your credit score. But with the business credit card, those types of things aren't necessarily reported on your personal credit report. But one way it could possibly impact you is that if you had a business credit card and you didn't actually end up paying that off, or you have a remaining balance and you just forgot to pay it, and that ends up getting sent to collections, then that actually can show up on your own personal credit report, because most likely, especially if you're a sole proprietorship, that you guaranteed the debt on that business credit card, and because it hasn't been paid, now it's impacting your own personal credit report. Now, as far as the actual credit score you're going to need to be approved for a business credit card, you're going to want to be pushing up on that excellent credit score category. So 740 or above. Obviously, the higher your credit score, the more likely you are to get approved for a business credit card. There are some instances that I've known of people that have gotten approved for a business credit card in that 600 range, but the reality is most people are typically going for either Chase or American Express in terms of business credit cards, because those have the biggest value, the most rewards points, and the biggest sign-up bonuses. And for those credit cards, you're gonna either want to have a really high credit score or have a pretty decent credit score, but an established relationship. So for example, if you have a few American Express personal credit cards and you've been banking with them for a few years, then you actually are kind of increasing the odds because you have an established relationship with them. Now, I can't stress this point enough that just because you have a high credit score does not guarantee that you're going to get extended or you're going to get approved for a business credit card. They consider a variety of different factors. For example, the estimated revenue you are to expect in the current year, how many years of operation your business has been in. Obviously, if a company's been existing for 10 years versus 2 years, they're going to look more favorable on those 10 years. Even things like on your personal line of credit, how much has been extended to you. So you can have a good credit score, but then, even an 800 credit score, but end up having too much personal credit extended to you. And that's going to make, Chase and American Express kind of, be a little weary to extend you a business credit card, which also typically has a huge line of credit. So they don't want to extend too much line of credit to you, especially if it doesn't really match your income level. The one major tip I give to a lot of people, especially if you're worried about this particular situation, is to call up your personal credit card companies and basically ask them to reduce a couple of credit cards as far as that line of credit that's been extended to you, and then wait about 30 days or so and then try to apply for a business credit card. Now, before I go any further, if you appreciate this video at all, or if you gained any value at all whatsoever in this video, please consider giving it a big thumbs up. I'd appreciate it a lot. Now, I do want to give a couple of personal recommendations as far as which business credit cards to go for first. In general, I'm going to recommend either Chase or American Express credit cards, typically because they have great customer service, they're easily accessible, and they have a big reputation and they've been established for a few years, rather than going with like some small obscure credit card company. That's definitely something I would stay away from. So here are a couple of my recommendations. Now, the first major recommendation in terms of best business credit cards is the Inc. Business Preferred card. This is pretty much the go-to for everybody. I'm actually going to do a future video on why I think this card may be a little bit overrated, but in general, I tend to agree that this is the go-to credit card. The sign-up bonus is 100,000 bonus points right now, but the problem is that the spending requirement is $15,000 in 3 months. And for a lot of people, that's pretty hard to hit, especially organically, just from day-to-day spending without having to do anything crazy. But if you have a big purchase coming up, it can be a reasonable credit card to get, especially for the sign-up bonus. Now, sometimes the sign-up bonus actually is a little bit smaller than 100,000 bonus points, but the spending requirement also is a bit smaller. The annual fee is only $95, so it's actually really great value in terms of 100,000 bonus points for only $95 annual fee. And especially paired with the Chase Sapphire Reserve credit card, this can actually be a powerhouse combining both of those credit cards. Now, if you don't necessarily want to pay an annual fee and you can't hit that spending requirement, the Chase Inc. Business Unlimited card is actually a great option too. It offers $750 bonus cash back for only $7,500 worth of spending in 3 months, which is a lot more reasonable in terms of organically just day-to-day spending and hitting that amount. Now, if you want to go the American Express route rather than the Chase route, I usually recommend the Marriott Bonvoy Business American Express credit card, especially if you don't want to pay a high annual fee in terms of business credit cards. Some of these can end up having almost close to $600 worth of annual fees. With the Marriott Bonvoy business credit card, you end up getting a $150 statement credit that offsets that $125 annual fee. So right there, you're already getting your $25 benefit for not even doing anything. And then on top of that, you get this $75,000 welcome bonus in terms of Marriott points that you can use for a couple of night stays. And every year you would get an anniversary night. So if you kind of think about it strategically and you can end up building up these points and using that anniversary night at that same time, it can end up being a really great value. And then the other thing I like about American Express credit cards is that in general, especially with Hilton and Marriott, you end up getting these different tier status levels. So for example, right now with Marriott, you could get Silver Elite status just by signing up for this credit card. And sometimes it can be a little perk. Sometimes it can even be as much as free breakfasts at different places. Sometimes it's just small things like free water bottles or early or late checkouts, but those can be very valuable, especially when you consider, okay, I'm getting these different perks. On top of that, I'm getting free breakfast. And on top of that, I'm staying at this hotel for 4 or 5 nights just using points and the free reward nights. So it can end up being great value if you just think about it strategically. Now, another option is the Hilton Honors American Express business credit card. And one of the reasons why I like this is, once again, low annual fee, $95, that's being offset by $150 statement credit. So already right there, you're netting back more than $50 just for signing up for the credit card. On top of that, you end up getting this sign-up bonus of 150,000 Hilton points. But one of the things I have to make really clear here, especially when you're comparing Marriott versus reward points, American Express reward points versus Hilton points, is that you have to do the extra step and see what that value actually translates to. For example, 150,000 Hilton points may seem better than 75,000 Marriott points, but the reality is it depends where you stay. You can end up staying at a Hilton that costs 50,000 reward points, but yeah, you can stay at a Marriott that's basically exactly equivalent and only end up spending 10,000 reward points or 20,000 reward points. So the reality is you have to figure out what this redemption will actually translates to. But like I said, one of the reasons why I like it is because the spending requirement is so low. It's only $2,000 in 3 months, which is pretty reasonable for most people. On top of that, you get the complimentary gold status. So if you pair this business credit card with a personal Hilton credit card, and you end up kind of hitting both sign-up bonuses, and that can end up translating into a lot of value, especially when you have that gold status. Now, I will mention that a lot of people tend to like American Express Platinum card as well as the gold card in terms of personal credit cards. But when it comes to the business versions of these credit cards, a lot of people, it's kind of a hit or miss depending on what you would actually use these credit cards for. For example, the American Express Platinum business credit card has a sign-up bonus of 85,000 membership points, but you have to spend $15,000 in 3 months. And with the high annual fee of almost $600, a lot of people can't really wrap their minds around this, especially considering that some of the benefits that kind of offset that high annual fee are things like a $200 statement credit annually to use at Dell. And, for some people, they're not necessarily buying from Dell. Maybe you're a Mac person. So then this statement credit basically is irrelevant. And same thing with the gold card. You end up having this $150 statement credit that ends up being offered to you for U.S. advertising as well as U.S. shipping. And that ends up totaling $300, which can offset that $295 annual fee. But, if this is a business credit card for you, but more so used for personal reasons, then that $150 statement credit for media as well as shipping may be things you're not actually using. So it may be better to actually sign up for different business credit cards that are more geared towards travel, like the Hilton or the Marriott card that I mentioned before. So that's it for this video. I just wanted to say I appreciate every single subscriber out there, and I appreciate if you're just kind of a casual viewer and you're not necessarily going to subscribe. That's okay too. I just want to say I appreciate your time. Hope you got some value out of this video. If you have any kind of questions, feel free to comment down below. I'd be more than happy to respond. And as always, hope to see you in the next one.